What TV show has the best pilot episode? The Walking Dead. I lost interest later in the series, like season 4 or something. But that first episode is awesome. Arrested Development had a perfect pilot in my opinion. Funny from the start and introduced all the characters. X-Files. It set the mood perfectly for that show, as long as you ignore the awful sound quality compared to later episodes in the first season. Fargo. The ending of the pilot was shocking and really set the tone for the rest of the amazing first series. Westworld. The heavy ideas kept coming fast one after the next and I thought, whoa. Slow down and pace yourselves, guys. But I was eating it all up throughout episode 1. The Good Place. I just had a good sleep and I got a huge amount of upvotes and a gold. Thanks guys. It's no longer on the air. But the show Castle, Nathan Fillion, Stana Katic, had a really solid pilot episode. Letterkenny. The cold open is so duck and fire. And the show only gets better from there. Mad Men. Really makes you think a certain way about Don Draper and those around him. Then has a massive twist at the end which leaves you wanting more. BBC's Sherlock had a great first episode. The graphics on screen are commonplace now. But that was pretty cool to me at the time. True Detective. In my opinion. I don't watch many series, because if the pilot is not good I usually don't bother watching the rest, but this one got me going from the start. At least for the first season. Anyway. Bob's Burgers. They came right out of the gate with a fully developed characters and humor that are still going strong. Invader Zim, because it not only introduced us to the characters, but told us what Urkins hate and love. Veronica Mars. Introduced all of the plot and story for a season-long arc without skipping a beat, while also making you want to know more about the characters. Doctor Who, 2005, Season 1, Episode 1, Rose *. Do you know, like we were saying about the Earth revolving? It's like when you're a kid. The first time they tell you that the world's turning and you just can't quite believe it because everything looks like it's standing still. I can feel it. The turn of the Earth. The ground beneath our feet is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. And the entire planet is hurtling around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour and I can feel it. We're falling through space. You and me. Clinging to the skin of this tiny little world, and if we let go. That's who I am. Now forget me. Rose Tyler. Go home. Asterisk. The Shield sets up every single character motivation, personality, and conflict for the whole series in the very first episode. You know who, what and why for the entire series. The last seconds of the first episode weighs on the main characters and haunts them until the last seconds of the final episode of the series. The best cop drama of all time. Hands down. The Sopranos. We immediately get a psychological snapshot of Tony. And the constant tension that characterizes the universe of the series is established along with the dynamics between characters that pushes the story. In my opinion, this series ushered in a golden age of television. West Wing. Or Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip. Great opening. Great characters. Not a great show though. In B4 nitpick. Wow. Like Aaron Sorkin much? Yes I do. I still remember watching the How I Met Your Mother pilot. Little did I know the journey that it would take me on from the highs to the lows. I really felt like I grew with the characters. While the last seasons were so-so. I still look back fondly on it. It's such a small thing. But their usual bar hangout always reminds me of my favorite hangout. Shenanigans. In Louisville. Last Man on Earth. Almost zero dialogue all the way through. Just a man with nothing to do but kill time and be ridiculously silly. Designated Survivor. I am in fact willing to defend that it is the best 46 minutes of television ever. It not only sets up each and every character and their personalities, but it also puts you into that uncomfortable and unnerving feeling. as if what's happening on screen is what's happening in real life. The first 5 minutes of the show, while they may be shocking, they play up the tone of the show to perfection. Eureka! The pilot had such a sense of mystery and wonder. I loved it. Unfortunately, by the time it's over you know exactly what's going on in the rest of the show. While fun, is not nearly as interesting as the pilot. First episode of Hannibal is really good. It really dove straight into how Will thinks and how him and Hannibal interact with each other and the people around them. I thought that the pilot episode of Sleepy Hollow was fantastic. Subsequent episodes lagged behind a bit, and I stopped watching around season 3 I think. But the pilot episode was absolutely solid. The Americans. I rewatched recently and was surprised at how many of my favorite scenes from the first season were actually in the pilot episode. Buffy. Perfectly established characters, relationships and some lore. Also the first scene shows how Buffy breaks genre conventions. Unpopular opinion. One Punch Man. It gives you a great idea about what the show is about. I haven't watched Lost, which is apparently very good. Crazy Ex-Girlfriend had a perfect pilot. West Covina was great. And Sexy Getting Ready song was fantastic. Also, Paula being the rom-com trope of bitter female co-worker for the majority of the episode only to subvert that trope with the ending reprise. Cheers was really well done. All of the characters had really great intros, and great interactions with each other. Lucifer. I love it when he's in his car with the devil-themed music and the great view of LA. Chernobyl. You can immediately see that they really thought about what to put in the first episode. The West Wing. The introduction to President Bartlet might be my favorite moment in TV history. Kim's Convenience. I am not the homophobic, you is not the gay. You is only pretend okay. See you asterisk. Chuck. Everything in the pilot episode was perfect. The story, the setup, the characters, the soundtrack, the plot device. Just everything. If I were to sum up the pilot episode in 2 words, it would be Irene Demova. iCarly probably. Mainly because they rarely showed it on TV. Seriously, I could never find it. And we didn't have internet for a good portion of my teen years, so I couldn't look it up on there. To this day I still haven't been able to see the entire episode. Only bits and pieces. Penny Dreadful sucks you in and keeps you hooked right from the pilot. I need to rewatch the series at some point. Shameless also does a good job of pulling you in with the pilot. Farscape. Wasted no time in thrusting Crichton down a wormhole into an alien part of the galaxy. The Handmaid's Tale pilot drew me into the show immediately. For comedy, I'd say Broad City. I know it's not everyone's taste, but personally, I'm charmed by the characters and writing. I knew I loved the show from the first episode. Stranger Things. Right away they introduce us to the horror elements and the 80s era characters without it seeming forced. Also the acting is good. Dad's on a hunting trip, and he hasn't been home in a few days. Supernatural. It was slightly cheesy but super intriguing. Also Sherlock has a pretty good pilot too. It really hooks you into his mysterious character through John. Pretty much every Ryan Murphy TV show, American Horror Story Anthology, Pose, Glee, American Crime Story Anthology, has a fantastic pilot where they set up a fresh concept, interesting characters, top-notch casts, and a salivating promise of surprising twists and soapy drama. That anything is possible. Unfortunately, the reality is there is a lot of effort put into the pilot episodes for these shows, and I would count every season of AHS as a new show. But he just gives up halfway through the season. The key problems are usually resolved within 4 to 5 episodes. Yet there are still 5+ episodes left of the series where the characters just dither around, spinning their wheels, repeating whatever happened at the beginning. It's like there's one brilliant idea, but he doesn't follow through on the execution. Murphy's shows get my award for biggest dissonance between the quality of the pilot and the quality of the actual rest of the series. The worst for me being American Horror Story Coven, which had a fascinating premise, but whimpered out by the third episode.